Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to do a quick video. This is on a video message that I got sent to me privately. Somebody was asking about uh, three terms that they had read about when it comes to the transmitting of a ryuha, or an old martial art lineage, from master to disciple, and how that relates today as far as training goes. And these terms are Taiden, Kuden, and Shinden. Taiden means body knowledge. Kuden means oral or basically academic knowledge. And Shinden is heart knowledge. And they are terms that really do relate to the idea of a master and a disciple, of passing along the deep teachings that come from something like a koru that's been around for hundreds of years. It's got such a just a deep, rich history, and it's developed over a long time, that there's a lot there that is basically transferred from one generation to the next. And you hear terms like Ishi Soden and that sort of thing that really relate to the level of relationship between the master and the disciple, um, and these play into this as well. Ishi Soden is almost like a father-son kind of relationship, that just that deep connection, that it's very different than like a sensei and a deshi, or a teacher and a student. Like if you were to go to college and you were to take a class, that's your sensei, and he's teaching you a subject. But once that class is over, you move on. There's no relationship that really gets built. There's no deep knowledge and study. It's academic. There's a textbook, and you're learning basically this course. That's the kind of teacher student path, and a lot of martial arts today kind of follow that. You pay for a program, you sign up for it, you come in, there's a curriculum, and the teacher teaches you this curriculum, you train in this curriculum, and then they give you belt rank, and then you graduate, or if you continue on, but you're receiving some sort of license. Um, but there's no, it's not really deep like that. But in the case of, like, in the Bujinkan, we have these nine ryuha, that are, there are no textbooks. It's not like a class. It's they're deep. There's history. There's culture. There's human beings that lived and died, and they say that the densho is written in the blood of the ancestors. There's so much richness that's there, and different time periods and different histories that that shaped all of that. So things are when you're really doing a true study and practice of something as deep and rich as a ruha, it's so much more than just a teacher student academic type of thing. And that's where you find these terms, this Taiden, Kuden, Shinden. So let me break these down and what they are. Taiden is body knowledge. Taiden relates to the mechanics, the techniques, the body to experience the techniques, and then the body to replicate those techniques. It's the copy mechanism, that you copy what you learn until it becomes a habit. Body mechanics, creating mechanical motions, repetition, conditioning, all these things to develop the body a certain way and to develop a technical ability of the art. And it's done through experience, it's done through massive action. So Taiden is action oriented, it's activity, it's action based. Kuden is the oral knowledge, or the academic knowledge. We do have a lot of written material now, but back in the day, you didn't have written material. Things were taught orally, they were taught verbally. Uh, but that knowledge is transferred from master to disciple through the different mediums of non-physical teaching. But also, you have great wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom that comes from something as old as an art. There's precepts and things about life, and just about human relations, because you can't have this many people being alive for this long through all the crazy turbulence that comes in the history of a ryuha and not have such incredible wisdom and insight about humanity and about survival and about all of that, not losing your mind when everything goes out the window. And I mean, these are people that really applied that. They lived through that, their experiences, and they share that knowledge with you. On this is what worked for me. This is what kept me from going crazy. This is my approach to life. I learned about the value of life because everyone around me that I knew died. Um, I learned to appreciate life more. I don't just look for a fight. I look to try to avoid the fight because I know how fragile life is. All these things, this type of wisdom, but also it's knowledge about anatomy and about structure and all these things that you learn, that they teach it to you verbally so that you understand these things, all the different names of things and stuff like that. That's all Kuden. And also the things the textbooks don't tell you, the space between the words, that is Kuden, the unwritten stuff, the gokui, the essence of something. That's all part of Kuden as well. And then this last part, the Shinden, is something that you can only gain through that personal relationship with someone. That the Shinden is the heart knowledge. You pick up the emotion, you pick up the spirit of the person who is teaching it to you. You Through that constant exposure to that individual, you're absorbing them into your own energy, into your own outlook, and into your own movement and everything. That's why they say that people who train with someone long enough begin to look like them in their movements. They can see it in their movements. It's not just about the Taiden and Kuden, but it's also that Shinden. It's that heart connection that you have with your teacher or with even with your classmates. But there's that Shinden part of it that you can't get from a video or a book. You can't get it from a website. It's only going to come through personal contact. Right now, what I'm sharing with you could be classified as Kuden, right? It's me talking to you, but I don't know you. I may never have met you. You don't know what I'm like outside of this little frame of this video. So there's no Shinden there because we don't have that personal connection. But if you're in my class, then we're going to share a personal connection because that's the level that I have with the people who I train with. That we are human beings interacting together with shared mutual interests, and we develop friendships and bonds that come from that. That's all part of the Shinden. And me as an instructor in my class, my students feel that from me, and the people that I look to, that I train with and stuff, that I feel that from them too. So that's that Shunin that's an important aspect of the training because that's the humanity of the training. So you have the action and the knowledge and the humanity, and that packaged together represents a nice, clean transmission. That's what's going to make the difference between training in an art at the level of the depth of richness that it needs in order to fully absorb that versus just signing up for a course and learning set techniques and practicing them and receiving a license or whatever and walking away. It's That's a very shallow approach where this is a very almost like three-dimensional approach to this. It's got so much more depth and richness to it, and there are a lot of things that you learn that don't really have words. They don't really have expression. You can't describe it. You can't replicate it as far as any sort of action. It just becomes a part of who you are. The influence your teacher has on you, it it just it just shapes something about you, and that's a very important aspect to the Shinden level as well. So, how does that apply in your training today? Well, it depends on the training relationship you have with your teacher. And if you're a teacher, it depends on what are you willing to share with your students. Because I can teach raw mechanics. I can share just knowledge of things. I can tell you this is what Omote Gyaku is, and I can tell you the Kyan Happo, it's this, and this. But if I don't allow myself to share me with my students, who I am, my character, then I'm really just like an empty box. That my students are I'm going to be doing them a disservice. So as a mentor, as a leader in my class, I'm very honest and I'm very open. I'm very honest about challenges I might have. I'll openly admit if I don't know everything. I'll admit if I make a mistake. I let my students see me struggle with things sometimes. Um, I'm very open and honest. At the same time, I don't hold back. I share with them if I feel they need that they should improve on this. I'm going to tell them. If I feel like their training is they're half-assing their training, I'm going to let them know. I'm going to tell them because I'm brutally honest. But I do that because I am relating to them on a human level, that it's human to human contact, that they're going to get that honesty from me. And I expect that in return from them. I want to know from them if somehow something isn't right for them, that they're struggling with something, we openly share. And that human to human relationship is an important element to training because it keeps you from disassociating your training with the humanity that you need. Because if you don't have a connection to the humanity in your training, then you're like a robot. And when it comes to things like um, martial arts that involve brutality, that involve potentially killing, maiming, hurting another human being, that if you don't connect the human element to your training, that could really create a problem for you. You could become mentally off, almost mentally sick from that. If all you're doing is focusing on how to hurt another person, but there's no human to human connection, there's no humanity to what you're doing, then you're it completely strips the art of what it's supposed to be, because the art is supposed to be about preservation of life. It's supposed to be about life supporting, life giving. And when you take away the humanity, the human connection, it becomes all too easy to just glorify the ego and go for these incredibly brutal techniques without any consideration that you're actually doing something to another human being, if that was for real. And then the impact that could come from that. So the Shinden itself is extremely important, and there's this illusion about masters being stoic and everything, and I challenge that idea because I've known a lot of people that have been through some really horrific things in their lives, life and death situations. I know people who've had to unfortunately take another person's life, and it that it affects you. It affects you. It impacts you. And I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I would not put it past a master who has survived war to even have moments of tearing up and crying, sharing their experiences about the friends they've lost, maybe family that have been brutally, horrifically killed, and just the things that they experienced. And they share that through their training. So when they're teaching you how to do a technique, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel all that emotion behind what they're sharing with you, um, versus somebody that doesn't have that or refuses to allow that to be shared. Again, that just they're a robot, and that that aspect right there just makes it like a business. It doesn't have that humanity connected to it. So, Taiden, yes, it's action oriented. You have to train your body. You have to condition it. You have to do 1,000 repetitions. You have to practice slowly so you do it correctly. Drill all of that in. Kuden, yes, you have to study. You have to learn. You have to listen and absorb information that's coming at you. You have to open your mind. You have to um, contemplate all these things and think about all this stuff and journal things and write things and all of that kuden. And then the shinden, you have to allow yourself to feel. You have to connect to the emotion behind what it is you're learning and allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself to understand your own humanity through the process of understanding the humanity of your teacher. That the teacher is not some just this perfect entity, that they're a human being that also suffers and has challenges and everything else. um, and feel that and connect to that shinden, that resolve, that knowing that this person survived, this person has traveled before me and has faced all the same challenges that I'm facing in my training. And I'm using this example of somebody maybe they haven't experienced war, but they understand the frustrations of training. They understand the importance of continuing to keep going, even when things seem like they're just, I'm never going to get any better, or COVID has canceled all classes, so I'm going to sit on my couch and not train. That you see the spirit of that teacher, that they just keep going. It doesn't matter that whatever, if they're just alone in their house, they're practicing sanshin in their living room 1,000 times. They never stop. It seems like they're constantly training. You feel that energy and that spirit. So when they're teaching it to you and you're sitting there and you're going, okay, yeah, and you know in the back of your head you're going to go home and you're not going to do anything. But now you think about your teacher, and maybe that inspires you. You're picking up that Shinden level of transmission. And that opens the door to take you to the next level. So all three of those apply to your training right now. Look for those and approach all three of those. And if you don't find that you're getting as much as you want or need from any of those, then it's up to you to seek that and to find that. If you're a teacher or a mentor and you know you are not giving as much as you should in any of those, then it's your responsibility to open that door and to share that. So I hope you find this helpful, inspiring, in some way. I appreciate all the support and the comments. I love it. Everybody's been very supportive, and I thank you for that. We have enough negativity going on. We don't need any of that anymore. We can all support each other and learn. But I really appreciate that. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to share. I definitely like all the likes as well. Any support is appreciated. So, again, thank you very much. And as I always say, stay happy, stay healthy, and no matter what, keep training.